So this is kind of a cheat sheet. This is like a checklist. Did they have a claim, evidence, criteria, comparison? As I said, the last class, I was listening to someone who didn't even have a claim. That's totally fine. That's why we're doing this, is to help you so that when you're ready to write your essay, it's a lot stronger. So if they don't have a claim, go back and ask them questions about their claim. If they don't have an evidence, ask them about their evidence, or if their evidence isn't really accurate. Same thing with the criteria in the comparison. This is kind of the last step. And then always they could add more, because in your first paragraph, this was not your essay, right? So you might be able to ask them, hey, could you actually give me another piece of criteria, another criteria that shows how Athens or Sparta is more fair? Or could you give me another piece of evidence? Okay, so those are two ways you can make it stronger. So I'd like one volunteer to model, and then I want you guys to be able to talk on your own. Can I have one person who can read their paragraph up here in front so that we can talk? As the listener, I am going to be, I'm going to be going through my checklist, and I'm going to be thinking about what she has, and I'm going to basically go through those steps. So go ahead, Xiomara.
Around 450 BCE, there was two city-states that were a part of ancient Greece. The city-states were Sparta and Athens. Sparta mostly valued physical strength and military might. However, Athens mostly valued on their mind. Both Sparta and Athens had military strengths and were very important to the defense of ancient Greece. Which city-states do you think was the fairest, Athens or Sparta? Sparta was the fairest city-state because they are being equal to women and were treated the same way as men. On source 8, it shows how Sparta is the most fair city-state because on page 9, source 8, it states, required female infants and child to be given the same care of food as their brother, and Spartan's wife controlled the family's wealth. This shows that Spartan's women were being treated the same way as their brothers and any other male. On the other hand, Athens didn't let women to go to school and take care of their families well.
Okay, so what I did was it's hard for me sometimes to remember what someone's saying, so I took notes as she was talking, and I also used the checklist so that I could think about what she was saying to be able to paraphrase it back. So, Xiomara, thank you for sharing. And what I heard you say is I heard you say that you thought Sparta was the more fair city-state, And actually before that, I thought you gave some really great background information. But in terms of your claim, I heard you say that you thought Sparta was more fair. And you thought Sparta was more fair because you thought it was equal for everyone. So that was the criteria you used. And the specific evidence to back up that criteria was that from source 8. And I think in source 8, what you were saying is that they treated men and women the same way. And that was actually something where I got, can you be really specific about what were you saying about in source 8? How are they treating men and women the same way? Can you repeat that?
They gave them the same amount of food as their brothers, except the females get a little less.
Okay. Okay, so I'm actually going to push back on Xiomara right now because I think that's one way they treated them similarly, but I think there's actually better evidence as to how they're the same even inside of that source. Because to me, that wouldn't really be the best way to back up that they treated them the same way. What in the evidence, does anyone remember, what was something that was like really specific how men and women or girls and boys were treated the same way that could actually prove her point better from that same source? Does anyone remember? Diana?
They both went to school. They both had to attend school, and but except the girls had a little less the period of time of school, and the boys had a longer period of time of school, but they both had to go to school no matter what, and
Okay, yeah. I actually think that would maybe prove your point better, that they both had to go to school. Because if you then look in source, source 7 actually doesn't say that about boys and girls in school. But I think in our background packet, it might have said that only boys in Athens could go to school. Is that why you chose source? Is that why you said about the food thing? Because you could have a counter evidence with
The Athens.
Yeah, could you explain that? What, like in your own words, why?
I chose the counter argument because it said that most women in Athens didn't go to school, and I chose that the women had like less time, I guess.
Okay, where did it say that women in Athens didn't go to school?
On the other source.
In the background information packet?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Xiomara is using our background reading. Is that where you got it from? That's the first information? Okay, so I would just, the one thing I would change in here, and if Xiomara were sitting in a desk, what she should do right now is be writing on her paragraph. And what I would change is instead of saying that instead of talking about them having food that was equal, I would talk specifically about school. Because I think, do you understand how that would make your claim stronger? Yeah. Okay, because with the food, it's still like, but they still didn't get quite as much. Okay, so I would change that. I did notice that she gave a comparison. So she gave a counter claim, so that was really good. And what you should have seen me doing is I kind of went back to her evidence, and I was asking her specific questions about her evidence, because to me, the evidence didn't totally make sense that she was doing. Another thing I could say is then, if we're done with that, I could kind of push her further on this question. Is there any other criteria you could use to show that you think Sparta is more fair than Athens?
People treated the same way.
Okay. Oh, but that is not the same criteria? Okay, that seems the same. Is there any other criteria you could use? Or is there any other evidence of how people were treated the same way?
The one you told me that I did at school.
Okay. Is there any other evidence you could use? You're not sure. Okay, so this is a great point where I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to talk. And then this is a great point where you get to this. That's why we do this elaboration, because now do you know some things you could look for? Okay, so now she knows some things you can look for, and what are you going to do?
I'm looking the packet to give us to see more evidence, and after I make my counter argument better.
Yeah, so she can go back. She's going to try to get more evidence to back up how people are treated the same way. And you could even see if you could find another piece of criteria. Like, is there anything about freedom you could put in there? Or people having a say in the decisions? I don't know. Okay, so that's what you can do.